Monday seems like a good enough time for a little chit-chat, eh? Let's go over some 5 things, right? Everyone, I'm Nick in the States, and this video is just 5 updates on the channel, on upcoming things, and just random things on my mind. And gosh, my mind sure does go random. First off, I want to announce kind of a cool new project video that we're doing. And this one is, how much is good enough? How do you make something super inexpensive be perhaps super awesome? And what we're going to start on this with is a bolt neck Epiphone Les Paul Junior. Those single pickup humbucker bolt neck little travesties that you see pining away, hiding, crying, begging for your attention, somewhere usually down by the end of the used guitar area of your local guitar shop. I bought this one for about, I think it was $65 or $70. Needed a little bit of truss rod adjustment. The tuners are dog poop awful. It's a family program. The pickup's all right. The strings on it are just dead. I mean, these things have been on it since probably it was bought. So it needs a little bit of life. Adjusted the truss rod, got the neck kind of good. It actually has pretty decent fret ends and fret leveling, which is surprising. Perhaps somebody gave it some love sometime. But it's got that one little kind of cheap, generic, begging for some help import humbucker pickup in it. So I went back and forth, and what I've decided on for it, because it's going to be really cheap to modify, just a pickup, maybe switch out the pots, definitely switch out the cap, and put on some tuners to it. I'm trying to keep it under $200 to make it a little Assassin's rock guitar that you can use for self-defense and not totally put your bank or put yourself at risk for bankruptcy. Kind of a cool, fun thing. Because it's a solid mahogany-ish body, it means that I looked for pickups that were also good in like SGs, because similar construction types, it's a little muddier in those, so typically the pickups are a little brighter or a little more attackier. That's why you see like P90s in a lot of slab mahogany body things, because they articulate a little more, they don't mud out as easy. So for this though, I actually went for a Gibson Dirty Fingers pickup. Dirty Fingers! Dirty Fingers! I'm kind of excited about that. So I have all the parts on it, and that's just going to be a project that we work on between now and the Christmas break. So keep an eye out for that. Next, I've got a couple of videos that I've almost have all of the stuff together for. And one of the cool ones I'm doing is guitars with an identity crisis. How do you identify a guitar? What I mean is this, like a Les Paul is a Les Paul. A 335 is a 335. A Tele looks like a Tele. A Strat looks like a Tele. What happens when somebody crossbreeds things? Now, what started this is this. This is an American Select Stratocaster that was mislabeled as an American Special and priced far too low for me to ever allow to stay on the shelf at Guitar Center. Honey, this is why I brought this home. I promise you, it's worth it. Got a really good deal on it. It's minty spotless with a case. Way too priced wrong. It'll end up maybe leaving the collection and a little bit of profit to fund more interesting things. But what's interesting about it is it's a mahogany body and a very Gibson-like cherry. It has a black headstock, a lot like a Gibson, and chrome lettering. So if you look at it versus like an SG, you can kind of see that it's playing both sides of the fence. Likewise, there are like, you see Japanese, or Chinese actually, likewise you see Chinese like Grecocasters, which very much want to be a Chet Atkins Telecaster. You also see Gibson like with the Music City Les Paul, which really looks like it had a long late night with a Telecaster. These are kind of interesting crossbreeds. So I want to just do a little video documenting all kind of the cool little niche ones, whatever, Cabanitas, that kind of stuff, and have fun with it. If you think of any ones, add them to the comments below so I can add them to the list so that it'll be exhaustive and interesting. Plus, it's more fun when we collaborate and have a good time. Next, we talk about the one that got away. This is a Lemon Drop EG 550 Greco that is very, very interesting. It's very beautiful. I love Lemon Drop guitars. I have a Harley Benton that's this exact shape, so why would I need another one in this exact color? Because they're pretty. But this one got away, and it was $405 plus shipping for a made in Japan pseudo set neck Les Paul, gorgeous. Why pseudo, you say? Well, look at the back. There's one little screw there, and apparently they glue it and screw it at the same time, and it keeps everything together. while the glue seals. So it's kind of a hybrid-y thing and weird, and that makes it a little less expensive than the earlier set neck Grecos and the later ones that they came back out with. But they still have the luscious open book headstock, the very accurate Gibson shape without being completely ripping off, faking it, but very cool, very pretty. $405 plus $30 or $40 shipping. It's a pretty darn good deal on these, and it behooves you, meaning perhaps check it out, to look at some of these there, because compared to like even Epiphones or a lot of the other newer copies that are trying to get the shape right, or at least silhouette a Les Paul, while not lying to you about what they are, it's a really good deal in that price range. Check them out. That one got away. It hurts because I just love the finish. One got away, which means you should always have an eye on what else to lust for. Now, not many people, unless you really scour Gibson and eBay and whatnot, might not be aware of the Gibson Johnny A. It is a double cutaway, semi-hollow, less polished thing of gorgeousness with unique inlays, a unique shape. It's one of the few things that I think Gibson has done completely new, clean piece of paper design that is resonant lately. Resonant literally and figuratively. Lately, though, because it's something all new. It's not just another Les Paul, another 335, or even a 339 or something like that that's just a smaller version of something else. It's kind of its own thing. And I'm really impressed with that guitar, but Gibson has kept it in their custom shop. So even the plain top black ones don't go used for much less than $2,700, $2,800. And all of the really beautiful flamey ones and Bigsby ones and gold toppy ones, you might realize why I like this. I like all of those things. They're $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, depending on used or new. Huge money. So Epiphone decided to pick up the cause and come out with an Epiphone Johnny A, which is quite pretty. It's still $1,000. Now that's a lot of money. Here's where I will psychologically help you get there. That's Gibson Electronics, Gibson hardware. The Johnny A's have a very interesting construction method. Instead of being like a 335 where they've wrapped a piece of wood around the outside, they've glued a piece of wood on the back, they put a wooden block of wood in the middle, and then they put another piece of wood on top in a big hollow chambered, how they've made semi-hollows since the beginning of time, or 1958. Johnny A is actually, it's kind of interesting. What actually it is it's a solid piece of mahogany that's 1.5 inches thick or something like that. And they just gut it out and hollow that piece out and leave a solid center block. So the outer rim, the back, and the sides are all one piece of mahogany, or perhaps two. I can't remember if they've glued two pieces together, but it's a solid piece of wood that's been hollowed out. And then they put on a Gibson version, a carved top on top of it of solid flame maple, like that would be the top of a Les Paul. So it's very pretty, very well built. It's a rock guitar, suitable for a bunch of different styles. The Epiphone version takes that, and the only thing that they change is the top of it, instead of being carved flame maple, which would cost more than the guitar itself for Gibson to do, close to it, or at least a lot, or more than they want to, that top of it is now a laminate with a flame top on it. It's a very similar finish. Has neat little details like on the back. There's a stinger on the back of the headstock like the Gibson Johnny A has. And the headstock itself is the very pretty jazz version of the Epiphone headstock and not the Les Paul version that seems to have gotten neutered a little bit on the tips. That's what it is. Anyway, kind of a cool guitar. They don't yet sell used for great. I almost bought one that had the headstock completely broken off for like just under $400. That was worth it in parts alone, and then to bring it back to life. I didn't. I missed it. There are more out there, but it's a guitar that you may not be aware of. A little expensive, but I know at least one of the regulars on the forum bought one, and I think is really, really happy with it. So that's that. Now the last item of the day is where we get a little bit deep, introspective, perhaps even where I bare my soul a little bit. Not really. What this is actually, a couple people, whenever I do a Shangzi guitar or a Bad Cat or GFS or even the Harley Bentons and stuff, people ask, why do you slum it in this lower end of the guitar spectrum with these crappy things, especially for someone like me who has way more guitars, and if I just sold a bunch, consolidated, I'd get some nice things. I have some nice things. Personally, me, I really like hunting out and finding these oddball things like that silly Epiphone Junior that with a little bit of love and a little bit of whatever, they become something that's greater than just a very small dollar sign and a name that you've never heard of. Epiphone, yeah, but you know what I mean. I like to just play in that area. It's fun. Plus you can afford, I'm lucky enough to afford, to be able to jump into that market here and there every few months, buy something else, maybe sell something, move it around, and it's not huge amounts of money. It's not something that I even have to ask my wife permission to do. Larger purchases I do. Just being honest. So what I mean is, it really allows me to have fun there. Bad Cat in particular, I've really had fun with, or Shangzi Guitars, because I can message the guy who is the principal for the company and give him some ideas, or he may ping me and say, hey, what would you name this offset SG guitar? And I say things like Scorpion or whatever. And it's just fun on a Saturday morning when I get up to send a few messages, talk about some stuff, and show it off. And in that vein, that offset SG guitar, the Scorpion, they're going to send me actually one of the proofs at the factory, the first one that they're making for Shangzi Guitars. They're going to send it out here so that I can go to you guys and say, what would you do the same? What would you do different? And influence the product a little bit, which is very useful for Shangzi. And it gives me something fun to do, and I enjoy just working with people, collaborating with people, doing fun things like that. It's me. It's how I'm wired. Everybody's a little different. Some people want to start with their Epiphone and then in 5 years have their Gibson R9, maybe a custom shot Stratocaster, and a really nice Martin. If they have those three things and some sort of couple of tube amps, original Princeton silver face or black face, and some kind of Marshall JMP or 1959 or whatever, that would be it, and they wouldn't need anything else. That's awesome. And if that's you, and if that's what you're going for, dude, go for it. Make that dream happen. Me, I just like to slut around with different guitars. And go cheap, go big, enjoy the stuff in between. It's just me. Plus, I'm petrified on my expensive gear to ding it. And that's just sad. But it's the truth. That is the human condition. With all of that, this has been, well, longer than I expected it to be. Anyway, we'll leave a Henning That's What She Said joke somehow out of there, however it would apply. I've been Nick in the States. Yes, I have issues. Thanks for letting me just chit-chat and share them with you. Take care, folks. You're still here. You need to go home. The video's, it's over. We've moved on. You should, you could subscribe right here, or we'll watch these things, but there's nothing else to see here. Just move along.